upon each of us. We pray, Lord, that you bless the meeting tonight. Bless all that have come tonight. We ask, Lord, that you continue to guide, lead, and direct us in a mighty way. Oh, Father, I pray, Lord, that you bless the Dawson family. Mr. Kent, bless his family, bless his heart. Thank you for his service. And Lord God, as we go and leave this place tonight, allow each of us to get home safe and sound. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Coach. Roll call. Madam Secretary, everyone is here except for Councilman Mason. And item 3, I have no chair's additions tonight, and not at this time. We do have a public comment sign-in period. If there's any agenda item you'd like to speak on, pick up a red or green card by the secretary, fill it out, and return it back to her, and she'll see that we call on you to speak. Going to item 5. Very special night here tonight. I think most of us up here have dealt with Mr. Dawson, some for a short time, some for a long time. But A, recognition of Infrastructure Director Ken Dawson's retirement, Parish President and Council. President Quintmont.
Thank you, Chairman. Council, good evening. We'll do this proclamation for Mr. Ken Dawson. Ken Dawson earned a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Southern University. Ken Dawson went on to work for Stone and Webster and helped to build the Riverbend Nuclear Power Station in St. Francisville. Then he went on to work for Riverbend itself to help bring it online. Ken Dawson became ordained minister in 1989 and currently serves as an apostle to the marketplace, actively ministering to the business and government leaders. Ken Dawson was elected to the police jury of West Feliciana Parish in January 2008 and served 4 years as the president of the West Feliciana Parish. Ken Dawson was named Chief Administrative Officer of Ascension Parish in 2012 and served in that capacity for 8 years. In 2020, he assumed the role of Infrastructure Division Director, overseeing Ascension Parish sewer and water. Ken Dawson has retired from Ascension Parish government and bringing his talents and experience to the Southern University system. Now, therefore, I, Clint Quintmont, President of the Parish of Ascension, State of Louisiana, by the virtue of the authority invested in me, do hereby commend Kenneth R. Dawson for his service and many contributions to Ascension Parish government. Thank you, Ken. Well, no. So we made this for Ken and for all of us. Actually, a key to the parish. So it only unlocks the council chambers, though. It doesn't unlock administration. Kidding, of course. But Ken, thank you for all your hard work. Not only in my administration, but the many administrations before me. And you've been not only a great worker, but a good friend. And I want to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Can you hold that up, fellas? We're going to take a few pictures here because we're going to do this up. Thank you.
Council, you want to come on down? Let's get a group photo with Ken. That's all right.
Mr. President, I would recommend, since he served under so many previous administrations, I'd like to have a picture with Mr. Dawson and all the parish presidents as he's worked with. I think that would be a...
Whatever order, if you want to do council first, and we'll certainly, that's a great suggestion. Councilman Ogeron. Yeah. Want to get it back here?
And I'm standing on the back, guys. I've got inappropriate clothing on, so I won't be on the back. Yeah, you go, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
You're one of the taller ones. Travis, I want to pin you out.
Well, thank you, President Whitmore, for this proclamation. I'm going to hang it in a very notable place. Let me just say that it has been a pleasure. Excuse me, I get a little emotional, but when Tommy Martinez asked me to come to Ascension Parish about 10 years ago, I guess he was taking a chance, because even though you live in the area, you don't really recognize the benefit of the area until you really ingrain yourself. So he asked me to come down, and I did, and I want to thank him for the opportunity. Because what I said at that time, this is my dream job. And it truly was. It was my dream job. It's my dream job. So through that process, it was wonderful under Tommy. And then I said that, he said he was going to retire after 4 years. And I said, well, when you ride out on your white horse, I'm going to be on the horse right behind you. But then President Matassa asked me, where'd he go? Asked me to stay on with him. And I want to thank him also for the vote of confidence and the opportunity to do so. So after 4 years, President Whitmore met with me and asked me to stay on with John. I think we were eating Mexican food when we started talking about it, to have the opportunity to do so. And it's been a pleasure. Pleasure with everyone I've worked with on this council. When I first got here, I said I've gone to council heaven. And I would told Terry that she's my favorite councilwoman. And she said, well, I'm the only councilwoman. I said, well, but she's just, it's just been amazing. And all of you, it has just been incredibly amazing. And I want to say that Ascension Parish is such an incredibly unique place. A lot of times when you're living in a place, you may not recognize that. But when I drove from up north coming down here and seeing this place and seeing the incredible people and seeing the heart that people have in Ascension Parish for their work and the passion they have for what they do, it just fired me up. It just really fired me up. And also just working with all of you. So I, again, want to thank you for the opportunity of being here. Barbara couldn't be here tonight because we have some illness in the family, so she couldn't come. But she sends her love for all of you that she's met over the years and the times that we spent together. And we would never forget you guys. And you're not going to get rid of me that easily. And y'all just have to put up with the other Dawson for a while. So I don't know if that's better or not. Your brother? My cousin. Yeah, he just keep telling that Ken Dawson, people keep getting us mixed up. Yeah. So again, I want to thank you. And you know, one thing is said in this that as a minister, I would like to just leave a blessing to you and to Ascension Parish. You know, the Word of God said, the Lord, may He bless you and keep you. May the Lord make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. May your families be blessed. May your grandchildren be blessed. May everything that your hand touches be blessed. May you live a long and healthy and fruitful life. And when the time is over, when you see our Maker, you will know that you have used every bit of your life for good and to help others. So with that, thank you. God bless you. This is not goodbye, but it's see you later.
I'm gonna miss them boots, man.
I'm going to miss that singing. Man, that guy's got a voice. Again, we all thank you, Ken, for your many wonderful years of service to the parish. Moving right along, the consent agenda. Oh, I'm sorry, the parish president's report, item 6. Mr. President.
See if I'm on. Yep, there we go. All right, good evening again, council. It's been another exciting week in Ascension Parish with economic development as we transition to a greener future. We look forward to welcoming Origin Materials to our business community. The project is significant in the emerging bio-based chemical market as well as an investment in our local labor market. It is estimated to create over 1,000 jobs in our area. For every new job created in manufacturing, 6 additional jobs are created in our economy in the service and retail industry. Long-term job creation will be 200 new permanent full-time positions with an average salary of $99,000. Ascension Parish is attractive because of our highly skilled labor and our ability to utilize RPCC to further develop our workforce to fit open positions. Construction is scheduled to be in mid-2023. This project will generate one-time revenue of $15 million in local taxes during construction. It will create $19 million of ongoing payroll and also generating long-term property tax values. The plant will be located in Geismar and will utilize sustainable wood residue. We look forward to hearing more about this project in the coming weeks and their upcoming groundbreaking. I'd like to invite Gary Beard up to the podium. He's the Executive Director of the Capital Area Groundwater Conservation District since October 2020. He is a registered professional engineer, U.S. patent holder for the environmental technologies, and two-term member of the Louisiana House of Representatives. Gary, excited to have you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. I am the Executive Director of Capital Area Groundwater. Capital Area Groundwater incorporates 6 parishes: Ascension, East and West Baton Rouge, East and West Feliciana, and Point Coupee. We control the groundwater for those parishes. And I'd like to just give you an update, since y'all are members. So y'all are members of that. So I just want to give you an update on what we're doing, where we're going, and some of the things that have taken place over the last several months. I have the clicker, but I don't know that I know how to work it. Turn it on. Oh. There's an on button. I'll tell you what. Let's try that. There we go. The district is in charge of the Southern Hills Aquifer. The Southern Hills Aquifer is the drinking water supply for the 6 parishes. The area that you see the aquifer goes all the way to the Mississippi border in both directions. We're only those 6 parishes to the western edge. And about half of that volume that you see is the volume that's taken out of those 6 parishes. But the recharge area goes far further north. It goes up all the way to Jackson, Mississippi. So the recharge area for our drinking water supply is quite extensive. So tonight what I want to talk to you about is time. Not the time of the meeting or the time to get a cup of coffee, and certainly not the time it takes to get around Baton Rouge. The geologic time, the time it takes for the water to get to us. So 2,000 years ago, when Caesar Augustus was leading an era known as Pax Romana, about 2,000 years ago when a little baby boy was being born in a little village of Bethlehem who would change the world for the better, 2,000 years ago when rain began to fall on a tribal nation known as the Natchez in what we now know as Mississippi. 2,000 years ago, that rain fell. Today, 2,000 years later, that water is under our feet. It took 2,000 years for that water molecule to go through that sand to where we use it now in these 6 parishes. So it's a precious commodity. It's very hard to replicate what we have. In fact, it's always rated as one of the top 5 waters in the world because of its taste, but it's been naturally filtered for 2,000 years. Now, as a district, our goal, of course, is to sustain and preserve and protect that precious supply in the Southern Hills Aquifer. Now, if you look at all the strands of water that come from Mississippi south, it goes all the way under, but south of Baton Rouge, in fact, it runs right along that I-10 corridor, there's a fault line. And that fault line prevents the water from heading further south. The fault line, as I said, runs down that I-10, I-12 corridor, and there's a northern fault and then the southern fault. And the southern Baton Rouge fault is the one we're going to talk about tonight. If you look, the way that water is migrating south, that fault line shifts. And some of the stratas break completely. They broke separately. But some of them still touch. And where they touch, the water from the south, all salt, is moving northward. And where it touches, it goes across that fault line and goes toward our drinking water supply. And we've got, about 10 different stratas, if you will, 10 to 12 different stratas, depending on where you look, where you cut, that are underneath the ground. Those stratas and the various drinking water stratas have different effects. The salts are at different levels. If you look along the fault line at the 1,200-foot strata, you'll see how far it's progressed. The red through yellow is above the EPA standard for drinking, but you can see it's beginning to migrate at the 1,200-foot strata. In the 1,500-foot strata, it's already moved up to where the Lula Street stations are in Baton Rouge. If you looked at the 2,000-foot strata, you'll see it's migrating mostly toward where the industrial area is. The industrial area is in the green. The 2,400-foot strata, not much migration, a little bit on one end toward the river, out moving toward the industrial area. And then the 2,800-foot sand, it's moved all the way across the strata. Different stratas, different effects, different amount of volume of water being pumped out of every one of the stratas. So what we're doing is we have to do what we must do to get with engineers and geologists and scientists to figure out what is the extent of this migration of salts and what can we do about it. So a little over a year ago, I took over as executive director and began working with with LSU, with the Water Institute of the Gulf, and engineers and USGS to come up with a three-dimensional model of what this salt plume looks like at the different stratas, and it's a predictive model. What can we do? What actions can we take to help preserve and protect those different stratas through different mechanisms? So some of the things that have been done in the past are scavenger wells, where you put a well in right before a drinking water supply well and you scavenge out the salts. We have connector wells and pressure systems that go from a high pressure zone to a low pressure zone to build a bubble, if you will, of high pressure so the salts won't go around. The salt, as you may know, has a different density, so when it comes across that fault, it hugs the bottom. It separates from the drinking water supply. Just like the Atlantic and Pacific don't mix in South America coast, they separate because it's different densities. The same thing here. We're also looking at reclaimed water facilities, taking wastewater and taking the molecule of water from wastewater and using it for irrigation, using it for industry, and getting off the drinking water supply. And then we're looking at clarification plants and to see if we can use those along the Mississippi River for other purposes, not drinking water, but for other purposes. In other words, anything we can do to take industry or irrigation or anything else and get it off the drinking water supply and get alternative water supplies for those purposes. So the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to implement automated metering and well monitoring systems. Right now, I know every one of your homes has a meter out, and they meter how much water each one of us uses. That's not the case with water wells. Everything there is self-reported. It has been that way for decades. When I took over, I said, if they meter our household, we need to meter every well that's in the ground. So since only about a third of them have meters right now. So we're going to go in and put meters on every single well in all 400 plus wells that are in these stratas, and we're going to know exactly how much water comes out of every strata, every hour of every day. All of that data is going to go to LSU, and LSU and the Water Institute are going to start calculating how this actual data, not self-reported data, would have an effect on the different stratas. And the other thing is that in those 400 wells, in addition to those 400 wells, we're going to put in 12 chloride monitoring wells so we can start tracking the chlorides based on actual flow data. So we can monitor chloride levels and flow data simultaneously. In addition to that, we're going to put in monitoring wells along that southern fault. Right now, what we need to know is how big is that window, how much water is actually coming across, and get actual detailed data so we can make good engineering and scientific decisions for the potential solutions. The other thing is that we want to maximize additional funding and establish a reasonable rate structure. I have asked for capital outlay last year. We were fortunate enough to be able to receive $1.85 million from the state government to begin putting the monitoring wells in. We also entered cooperative endeavor agreements to get monies to be able to put in the metering system so that every well has a meter on it that's reporting directly to us, not going through some other filter. I don't think the water companies would allow you to tell them how much water you use out of your household every month and to trust you. The same thing here. We don't think the water companies we should trust them. We need to go ahead and get the data directly. The other thing is I'm seeking federal assistance to get as much federal money as I can, that I can possibly get. And then, of course, there's increased user rates, which is the last thing we want to do, is to, minimize the amount of the user rates. In that regard, if you look at your water bill, and whether you're on Parish water or wherever it comes from, and this is an example from Baton Rouge Water Company, if you look at the cost, the largest cost that you get is for infrastructure. It's the delivery of the water to you, the elevated water tanks, the piping system, the pumping system, the well cost. Then there's taxes. And then there's a $1 fee for Department of Health to tell you that the water you're drinking is okay. The average home is a nickel. The water costs a nickel. It costs you $1 to tell you that the nickel was okay to drink. It's only $20 current rate for 1 million gallons of water. They raised it, the board raised it at the last meeting to $65 for 1 million gallons of water. So if we took Tiger Stadium and we filled it with water 5 foot deep, not on the 8 days in the fall, that would be a sacrilege for some people, but any other day, if we filled that stadium with water 5 foot deep and played water polo in it, it would cost you about $150. That's it. That's the cost of water. The cost of water in this area is almost at giveaway rates, okay? And that's at the new rate structure, okay? So the water is practically free for all intents and purposes. So that being said, we're also going to do program management and construction of those facilities. So we're putting in the metering system now, and within 6 months we're going to start getting good data of exactly how much. I had one client, I'm not going to say who it was, but told me that I asked him, how are you measuring it? And he said he took a barrel and got a stopwatch and he measured it, how fast it took to fill the barrel. And that's how he reports the water. We can't have that. They're going to have a meter. They're one of the first ones to have a meter. So everybody's going to get a meter. Then we're going to be doing reclaimed water projects. We have made 2 proposals, one to Southern and one to LSU. We're going to build wastewater treatment systems. With these new technologies, we're able to strip the water molecule away, and we're going to use the water molecule to irrigate the ball fields, the golf courses, put water for the cooling towers. It can be done economically. In fact, the way we're doing it on the current design that we've used, and it's a picture of one of them right there, we'll be able to do it at actually less cost than they'll actually be saving about $1 million a year over their current wastewater rates and their water rates. So it actually saved them money to do it and to actually reclaim the water. And then we're going to do the monitoring well system, as we discussed, start in phases. As I get state money and as I get federal money, we'll start monitoring that fault line and determining exactly how much salt water is coming across. So the last thing, of course, is public outreach and awareness. It's part of what we're here for. And that if there's anything that y'all would like for any public meetings that you have, would you like me to come back? I would be delighted to. I think it's important that everybody realize that there is a problem, but we're dealing with that problem and we're going to solve that problem. But it's not just for us. You know, years ago, when I was a Boy Scout, tenderfoot, a few years ago, we went up to Avondale and filling up a canteen with water. By the time I'd made Eagle, that artesian well had turned into a dribble. And I remember asking one of the scoutmasters what happened. He said, oh, it's just a natural occurrence. Well, it's a natural occurrence when you suck all the water out of the ground. So that's one of the reasons why I took the job, is because we owe it to our children and our grandchildren and for the generations to come to protect that drinking water supply. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do everything we can, and we will solve the problem, and we will preserve it for them. So, but I'm here to answer any questions and provide you with whatever information you may need, because we're all in it together. We're all pulling on the same
Any
way.
questions from council members?
Yeah.
Councilwoman Kazu.
Mr. Beard, thank you so much for being with us.
Yes, ma'am.
We first heard about this issue from Hayes Town about, I guess during Mr. Martinez's administration, Mr. Town came down to Donaldsonville.
Right.
Informed us. I think he might still be a member of your board of
He
directors.
retired recently because of health, but he's still
Very
there.
good. Lovely gentleman.
Yes.
I'm so glad to see that progress has been made.
Yes, ma'am.
You're preaching to the choir here because we certainly agree with you. I think most of us do. And so we hope that we can be of whatever help you might need to us.
I appreciate that. I just want to make myself available because it is an issue, but I don't want people hearing about it and being overly concerned about it. I want them to know that LSU and the Water Institute and our staff, we're working on it. We're dedicating ourselves to it, and we're going to solve the problem.
Is industry cooperating?
Actually, yes, ma'am. I had a meeting with Exxon just the other day, last week, in fact, and it was a close vote as to whether to meter everybody. There is a lot of opposition to metering, but Exxon came in and said, come on in, put your meters in, and we think you'll find that our numbers are accurate. And I told them, I said, actually, I figured Exxon would know exactly how much water was going in. Others, however, Baton Rouge Water, for example, does not want to be metered. There are many groups that do not want us putting meters on there, and I'm sorry, but I am. And I'm going to find out. And we're going to do everything we can to figure out where the problem really lies.
Thank you.
Councilman Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate you, Mr. Gary.
Yes, sir.
And, the 6 parishes, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Dawson.
Your representative is Mr. Dawson.
That's correct. That's correct. We joined in, and thank God we made that move. So in his replacement, we'll get with our other Mr. Dawson here, and and the parish president. I don't know who will be designated to that positions, but y'all meet quarterly, or when do y'all meet?
Every other month.
Every other month.
Yes. And no, I appreciate Mr. Dawson being there because as an engineer, he has been helping us and leading the charge for us. And of course, he's allowed to stay for as long. He doesn't have to. He can be living anywhere in the state. Sure. But we appreciate him being on. He's been an amazing help. In fact, it was Mr. Dawson who had actually asked us. There was a rule that was passed years ago. And at one of the meetings, and it was supposed to be, the rule was passed that the 1,200, the 1,500, and the 2,000-foot sands, they restricted the amount of water that was going through to 25 million gallons a day, and in the industrial district, 12.25 million gallons a day. Millions of gallons per day, per strata. Mr. Dawson was the one who said, and I know he saw something, he said, Mr. Beard, would you go put that on a flow chart for me and put it on a graphic chart? I went, I was looking at him, I knew he was getting somewhere with it. I went, sure. So I went and put it, and as soon as I put it up on the chart, I went, son of a gun. They're reporting it to us quarterly. That's an average. So you could suck 100 million gallons a day,
Right.
and then stop, but you caused a huge amount of damage on that aquifer. So it was the rate, not the total. And because of Mr. Dawson, everything began to change. So I appreciate him being on the board. His leadership, and as vice chair, his leadership's been awesome.
Appreciate that information.
Okay.
And I have both ways here. I have Baton Rouge Water, and I also have my own well that's 800 feet deep.
Right.
I have some cows and different things
Right.
that I keep separate. So how are you gonna go in and at the private wells?
Yeah.
What are you looking at? What feet are you looking at?
Actually, if anything for ag and any private well is not in our jurisdiction.
Okay,
So we don't have any, and usually those wells are not the ones causing the problem. The ones that are the problem are the massive wells for industry and the ones that are taking water for an entire geographic area. So none of the private wells are in the jurisdiction of the district.
appreciate that information. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Lawler.
Yes, sir. Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir.
What is the primary cause of the saltwater intrusion?
It's a good question. For years, they believed it was coming from the Gulf, but more recently, based on the sampling, they actually believe it's coming from salt domes. And the reason it's migrating north is because we're sucking it out so fast, faster than it can be replenished. So the water table's dropping, less pressure, water from the south is moving north. So, and one of the things that we need to look at, we did actually, in that pressure differential well that I mentioned to you earlier, we created a bubble of high pressure good water, and it stopped the salts. But then gradually they migrated around it. So what we're looking is to see, one of the options is to build a high pressure bubble, if you will, along that fault and keep the salts from migrating. But what we need to do is start looking at a recharge area and see if we can increase the pressure, increase the volumes going into the aquifer, and gradually build the pressures up to push the salts further south.
Thank you.
Very good. Coach Thomas.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess it's a perfect time to talk about water. And the reason is a perfect time is in West Ascension, we're having problems with the water system. It's been right at 2 years, and this is the third year we're going into high water bills. 1 month, your water bill is 25, the next month is 125. And I'm wanting to know whether the administration looking into getting with yourself or getting with anyone about fixing the problem on the West Bank.
Okay, well, I don't have any control over any of that, but I will tell you that, again, the cost of water, right now, if it's a nickel, it will be going up maybe 12 cents a month. Excuse me. On the cost of water, not the cost of delivery, just the water itself. And that would be the only thing under our jurisdiction.
So there's no free water in Ascension, I'm sure.
It's as close to free as I like it to get, but
No free water in Ascension. My question again is to the administration in dealing with the water system. That we need to address the water system on the West Bank. And
Coach.
Not privy to this speaker, and we could talk about that at Utilities
About
Committee.
a whole aquifer system,
Yeah.
not just a particular area. So it's appropriate. He did a great job of explaining the whole system, but it's not privy to Ascension Parish or the West Bank. It's a 6-parish region. Correct, Mr.
that's
Reed?
correct. Yeah,
Okay.
we only govern over the supply of water, not the infrastructure or cost of water itself. Thank you.
I get the administration don't want to talk about the situation that we have on the West Bank. So you're going to need to talk about it sooner or later. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Mr. Reed, thank you so much for an informative presentation.
Thank
We
you, sir.
enjoyed it. It's good
Thank
to
you.
know that we're protecting the water for the future generations.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
so much.
Appreciate y'all.
Moving right along. Coach, go ahead.
My question, if I can get an answer to the administration, is when are we going to address the situation on the West Bank? After your report, I know you did your report. I do have a right to ask, and I'm not sure whether you're going to answer or not, because it hadn't been, nothing been said for the last 2 years and a half. So am I going to get an answer on when you all going to come across the river and take care of the situation on the West Bank with the water?
Okay, Gal. Well, you know, Coach, we went over this at the utility meeting. We had the goals for what we're going to do on the West Bank, and I'm comfortable with that. That includes to look at the meters, and let's see if they're working, bring an expert in. Let's see if he finds anything. We're going to also look at the billing system. We're going to see if that has any problems. But as you asked me last week, I was appointed to this position a week ago. And I've been pretty busy over the last week, but I can tell you we're going to address the questions that you have, and we're going to come back and address those audit findings that are there too.
I would like to have the audit, which has been done on the water company, hadn't been explained clearly to this council in itself. I'm not understanding. We've done the audit. It's been 3 to 4 months, and we haven't had the audit exactly explained to the whole council. When are we going to do that?
The audit was presented at council last meeting. The auditor came and he went over the findings, and if you have other questions about the audit, I'm sure we can try to answer those. We can get the auditor back if we need to. We've had exit conferences, which you were involved in. We had several meetings about it, and then it was presented to the council.
Mr. Goldschmidt, if that was a presentation on an audit on a water company that they give the other day, which was about 5 to 10 minutes, then we have problems.
The audit was our financial audit, which we asked them to do some special considerations for utilities because we knew there were some issues. They had come up. They did extra work, and those were the findings that were in the back of the report. There were several findings related to the utility companies, and I think that's what Mr. Dawson is referring to, that he's working on trying to get goals for those, moving those forwards. There have been several changes already at the billing department trying to fix a lot of those. I can tell you from our financial side, the deposits are much more accurate, so I think we've solved some of those things that we were seeing on our side.
Excuse me, gentlemen, I have to interrupt. This is not an agenda item, and we're all way off base here. So if you would, Coach, you have questions, reserve those, and we'll talk to those, outside of this meeting, because it's not on the agenda tonight, okay?
One question, and that's going to be it.
Is it referring to an agenda item?
The service that we get, we paying for. The water service that we paying for, we're not getting the service we need.
Okay. Your comments accepted. Moving right along. Item 7, consent agenda. I'm sorry. Mr. Ogeron.
Thank you, Mr. Cagg. Mr. Beard's gone, so I'm not going to ask my question to him. But I wanted to thank you for assuring Coach that we're going to get that on an agenda item. I'm making a request now that we put the water company audit on the agenda for the Donaldsonville meeting next month. Without objection, I hope we can get that taken care of. Is that fine?
Sure.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, am I going to note of that? Moving along. Item 7, consent agenda. Madam Secretary, please read the consent agenda.
Change order number 1, ASA Contractors OEP Department Relocation and Renovation to add 65 days and an additional $39,807.90 for a total contract amount of $231,447.90. 2021 Audit Engagement Letter. 2021 Statewide Agreed Upon Procedures Engagement Letter. Approval of Project York Air Products Blue Energy LLC for participation in the ITEP under the Post-Executive Order 2018 rules. Contract for engineering review agency services pursuant to RFQ Selection Committee meeting on 12/18/21 awarded to CSRS LLC to perform the duties ordinarily associated with an in-house engineering department related to subdivision and development of property in the parish. Total contract amount $250,000. Amendment number 1 to master contract for public works construction for chiller replacement at Old Courthouse for additional specifications and warranties needed to the original scope of work that will make the unit more efficient. Additional amount of $8,900 for total contract amount of $103,700. Amendment number 1 to master contract for preventative maintenance to generators located throughout the parish to include to Exhibit A 10 kilowatt ONON and an enclosed trailer. Change order number 6, BRP Construction LLC, Animal Shelter Renovations, increase of 30 days to substantial completion. Certificate of Substantial Completion, BRT Construction LLC, Animal Shelter Renovations. Change order number 1, Geosport Lighting Systems LLC for lighting replacement, Butch Gore, J. Leo Stevens, and Sanama Parks to add an additional 158 days due to supplier delays. Change order number 1, Bob Bernhardt and Associates Jail HVAC Upgrades Phase 1 to add an additional 120 days due to unforeseen delays in factory production and shipping. Certificate of Substantial Completion, Doyle Electric Filter Plant Electrical System Upgrade. cooperative endeavor agreement between Ascension Parish Government, Ascension Parish Fire District Number 3, and Prairieville Fire Department for the use of paid part-time firefighters and to be allowed to use a portion of the funding provided for fire protection services to be used to compensate their part-time firefighters. Amendment number 1 to professional services contract with Corporate Mechanical Contractors, Inc. for the general maintenance and emergency repairs for the chillers, AC, and heating units at LDEC. The contract is to be amended by an additional $12,000 for a new not-to-exceed amount of $61,000. Approval of change order number 4 for Henry Road at AP 930 RAB MA 1808, adding $20,499.46 for erosion matting and adding 37 calendar days. Approval of change order number 5 for Henry Road at AP 930 RAB MA 1808. Approval of change order number 3 for Seabrook Road Safety Widening Project for a total increase of $82,082.72. This change order includes adjustments needed to address field conditions. Approval of change order number 2 for LA Highway 73 at Brown Road. Balancing change order to adjust the quantities to all items as needed for the completion of the project. Addition of 402 calendar days. Approval of substantial completion of LA 73 at Brown Road MA 1803A on August 11th, 2021. Approval to install no parking on pavement signs on North Lone Oak Road at West Lone Oak Road. Roads to be considered for acceptance in the parish maintenance system as follows. Highland Trace, Jim Moran Road, 181 feet. Trace Avenue, 1,779 feet. The cottages at Savannah Road, Calm Lane, 157 feet. Chalet Avenue, 540 feet. Cottage Lane, 264 feet. Cozy Way, 1,306 feet. The villas at Rosewood, Berkshire Drive, 898 feet. Approval for the parish president to enter into an agreement with Shell Pipeline Company for pipeline casing work required as part of the PR 929 at Parker Road Roundabout project. Approval to grant the parish president the authority to enter into required utility relocation agreements with utility companies as part of the pre-construction efforts for projects in the Move Ascension program. Approval of change order MC03 to extend the contract time for the 2020 asphaltic concrete reconstruction and overlay improvements contract by 1 year to February 2nd, 2023. Approval to amend the contract of T. Baker Smith to a new expiration date of February 7th, 2023 for the LA Highway 3127 Extension Design Services. Resolution to adopt the inventory and proposed priorities for capital road improvements in accordance with the unitary plan of operations for selection of parish roads for new construction and maintenance for the parish road system for 2022, 2023, and 2024. Approval of amended cooperative endeavor agreement between Ascension Parish School Board and the Parish of Ascension to include use of Roger J. Cluott Park and APSB baseball fields. Approval of cooperative endeavor agreement between Ascension Catholic School and Parish of Ascension to make repairs to La Rogera Field grandstand. Approval of amendment number 1 to master contract for public works construction, Lamar Dixon Expo Center soccer field fence replacement, Central Fence and Gates LLC, to correct the number of days for substantial completion from 60 to 90 days.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Does anyone wish to remove an item from the consent agenda for further discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to move the consent.
Got a motion by Councilman Malonson to approve the consent agenda, second by Councilman Lambert. Any questions? Any objections? So ordered. Thank you, gentlemen, and Madam Councilwoman Cazo. Under general business, item 8. A, approval of supplemental pay for registered voter, registrar of voters chief deputy, $10,000 annual.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Orgeron, second by Councilwoman Cazo. Any objections? Any further discussion? There being none, that motion passes. Item B, approval to amend the master contract for professional engineering design and related services, Move Ascension for additional $3 million, thus increasing the total contract amount from $12 million to the new not to exceed. Motion by Councilman Orgeron. Do I get a second? Second by Coach Thomas. Any discussion? Any questions? Councilman Lawler.
Yeah, actually, I've got a little bit to say on this. It's probably not ready for a motion and second right now. I was trying to get in touch with everybody, didn't get a chance to. I had a lot of discussions with Patrick today, Goldsmith, and this item really needs to go to the Finance Committee first to do a budget amendment, because we need to get that $3 million from somewhere. But one of the reasons I wanted to speak on this, it really goes to the heart or the crux of the issue with infrastructure and transportation. Is what we have here. We have 6 projects, some of them quite large. One of the largest being Highway 61, Airline Highway, all the way through Gonzales, from South Pupere to just north of Lowe's, improving that entire roadway. Doing incredible work there. We're going to get about $9.5 million worth of federal funds. And the reason I'm bringing this up is we are struggling to find $3 million in the budget for this kind of stuff. And that's not the entirety of that $3 million. We have 5 other projects that go into that $3 million. But my point is, we have got a tremendous amount of work that we could be doing in Ascension Parish, transportation-wise, infrastructure-wise. The opportunities are there. There are federal funds that are coming down. There are state funds that are coming down. But every year, it doesn't seem like it, but we struggle to find money to put into these projects, whether it's pre-construction or actual construction. Every year we struggle, and that's because we get approximately $8 million a year for our entire transportation budget. And what that includes every single transportation employee that you see out there filling potholes, fixing signs, doing all of that work. That includes our administrative portion of the transportation department. That also includes roads and bridges. That includes all the materials for maintenance of approximately $3 million, 2.8, somewhere around there, maybe $2.4 million a year in overlay contracts. There's a reason that we have trouble funding turn lanes, roundabouts, additional lanes, the things that will make our roads safer, the things that will allow our traffic to move better. It's simply that we don't have enough money. We have plans. We have a $1.2 billion master plan of things that we can do, things that we want to do that will improve transportation in the parish, yet we sit here every single year trying to scrape together dollars to figure out how we can do a couple little things. And the reason I bring this up, it's going to take a lot of courage, especially over the next 2 years. If we want to do this, and I know I've heard people say, well, hey, you don't want to go look for funding before an election. I don't care about elections. I really don't. That's not the issue here. The issue is we all talk about wanting infrastructure and how important it is to the citizens of Ascension Parish, to the businesses in Ascension Parish, to those plants that are on the river that want to get their employees back and forth to work safely. We're going to have to do something about this. The fact of the matter is we're getting to a point where we are running out of transportation dollars to do the things that we have to do. We all have projects in our districts that we want to see done. I'm not talking about overlays. I'm not talking about little things like that. I'm talking about adding lanes to major roadways, to connection, north, south, east, west, and making sure people can move around in this parish safely. And we struggle to do it every year. And nobody wants to step up and say, hey, you know what? We got to find a way to fund this. And this really brings it to the forefront that this $3 million is going to lead to somewhere around, I want to say like $16 million more federal and state funds. Meaning that if we don't find this money, we're going to lose out on over $10 million of free money. We shouldn't be in this position. We need to put ourselves in a position that, especially in the upcoming years, there's billions of dollars of federal money coming down. We need to be in a position that we have parish money that we can put towards matching grants, that we can get these projects done. So unfortunately, we're going to have to go back to the finance department. We'll work with them to find out where this money is. I made a mistake. I thought some of it could come from the Mega Infrastructure Fund. I was incorrect on that. That's totally my fault. But there are other areas that we can find this money, and I urge us to. Because 2 of the biggest projects that we're trying to do, one is going to transform Airline Highway through the city of Gonzales. The other are the initial steps towards getting a new interchange in the parish, something that benefits the entire parish every single district. We need to be willing to go get this money and find it somewhere, and we shouldn't have this battle every single year. I'm sorry to get on a soapbox there, but it's really important because I don't think the public always understands. They think that we have a lot of money. We don't for transportation. I'll tell you right now, I encourage anybody in the public to come to a meeting, to call any of us, to ask about and to see how the money's spent. It's not wasted. It's going towards projects. Things are getting done, but we don't have the money. Yeah. Thank you for letting me get on my soapbox. I want to make a substitute motion that we send this item back to the Finance Department and ask the administration to put together a budget amendment, and we will work with them before the next Finance Department to find that $3 million that we need for these projects, which, by the way, there are additional projects that we could do. If we can find more than $3 million, there are more projects throughout the parish that we can be doing. That was just a number that we thought, okay, maybe we can find this. But certainly, I'm going to tell you, I've already asked the people that I'm working with on this to go find more of those projects. So if we can find more money, we're going to do the initial work on it to put us in line to go get more state and federal dollars. So that's my substitute motion, though, is to send this back to the Finance Committee with a request to the administration to put together a budget amendment, and we'll work together with them to find that $3 million.
Second.
All right, I got a substitute motion by Councilman Lawler to send this back to Finance to be discussed with the administration to find an answer to this. Patrick's in agreement. All right, Councilman Melanson, you had, your mic was on.
I was going to say what he said. So.
Okay. Councilman Orgeron.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Law, are you suggesting that we need to increase taxes on the public to find these extra dollars, or what are the other options?
You know, I don't know if there's very limited areas where we can cut right now in parish government. I think all of us see that, you know, now that we're all sitting up here, it's easy when you're campaigning to say, oh, there's so much waste. But when we all are involved in this, we see that there's really not a lot of waste in parish government. And I think most of us would agree with that there's not, I can tell you this, there aren't the tens of millions of dollars that we need. Yes, I'll state it right now. I'm willing to look at if we need millages, if we need to consider a sales tax or something to raise revenue for transportation. Because simply put, the public has said that it's important to them. The public says that transportation and safety are important to them. If it is, this is not something that's free. And I know I'm going out on a limb there, and a lot of people will say I'm crazy for doing it, but you don't get things for free. You don't get nice things for free. And if we want nice roads, if we want safe roads, we're not going to get this for free. I know Swamp Road is an issue, Duplessis, Tiggy Duplessis, Beco Road. There are all these roads around them. It's all over the parish. We don't have the money to fix this. $8 million a year goes nowhere when it comes to transportation. Sure. And I will tell you, it's possible that that $1.2 billion plan over 30 years sounds insane. It sounds like a tremendous amount of money, and it is. But much of that money is going to come from matching funds, from state and federal matching funds. We only have to generate a small portion of that, which is feasible. One of the things I would really like to do, if I'm talking about this, is I'd like to see us put together a citizens committee, working with the administration, working with several of us, to look at the different alternatives to see how much we really need and get the citizens' input on this. Because we hear it, I think we all hear it all the time, that, hey, we need to do something about our roads. I think when citizens realize how much money we have and they see that we don't have the money that makes it possible to fix our roads as they really need to be fixed and to do the additions we do, I think most citizens will say, hey, yeah, I'm willing to pay for something. Because so far with Move Ascension, we've shown that we can get things done if we can get utilities moved. By the way, that's a little shout out to those utilities companies. Let's get those utilities moved. They're holding us up on 3 roundabouts, 930 and Henry Road, could all be under construction right now if they would move their utilities that quick. So yes, that's something I'm willing to explore, and I'll probably get crucified for saying that. But
No, listen, I think everything needs to be put on the table at this point. My household, we need to prioritize where our monies go. You know, and I think that's something that this parish fails to do as well. Everyone has their own little niche, everyone has their own little island, and everybody wants to protect that little island. And, I'm sorry, I've seen where we've overspent in some areas just to keep the status quo. And that status quo really isn't giving us the benefit that new roads, new bridges, and those sort of projects would do. So I really think we need to sit down and start looking at reprioritizing our budget and looking at how we are going to spend the taxpayers' monies. Because right now, we're not doing a good job of that. Secondly, we're constantly being asked to forgive these billion-dollar companies that are along the river, and allowing them to come here and not pay their fair share. Maybe it's about time we start pulling back those exemptions, and we start holding their feet to the fire and say, listen, you want to be a good neighbor? Contribute more. Give us a little extra. We got a $1 billion plant that's coming up over here. I'm pretty sure in a couple of months, someone's going to come up here and ask us to forgive a huge portion of what they would be obligated to pay us on a regular basis. Maybe we tell them no this time. And maybe we say, listen, guys, we're glad you're here. We're glad you're only going to make $10 billion a year and not $25 billion a year, and contribute to us. Be good neighbors. But those are the things that we need to do. Parish, the council, and the administration need to work together to reprioritize. Because yes, the public deserves a lot better than what we've been giving them over the last several decades, and we need to get at it.
I believe everything should be on the table. I mean, we can look at our budgets and see where cuts can be made. I know I've done some of that. I can tell you, we can make some cuts, but it's not going to cover what we need to do. I think it has to be a combination of things. But every cut we make means less taxes we need, which is, that's the ultimate goal.
Okay,
The public's being taxed enough as it is. We don't need to increase taxes on the people of Ascension Parish.
Before we take a vote on the substitute motion, I'd just like to offer a comment. I've been working with John Diaz, and we have this ARP money. What we've had to deal with is the unrealistic restrictions on how you can spend that money. NACO, National Association of Counties, on behalf of all counties and parishes nationwide, 3,069 of them, is working very hard. This is the first time in the history of federal funding that came directly to the parish or county. First time ever. It almost always went to the state, and by the time the state prioritized what they wanted to for whatever, political favors or where the need was, we didn't see what we consider our fair share. No parish got their fair share. But this is the first time it came directly to the parish. We got one payment in last year. There's another one due, I think, in the spring, summer, John, is it, this year? And we're investigating what can we do with it. They supposedly opened it up, made it more flexible. So if road projects are in that, infrastructure improvements, yes, we're going to look at it. So it's just a kind of little ray of sunshine at the end of the tunnel there that we're looking at. And there's supposed to be a lot more federal monies coming down to our level for infrastructure. So let's just keep our fingers crossed and they keep their promise. So I got a motion, substitute motion, and a second. Coach?
Yeah, that's the least of my problem for us, the roads. I know we didn't, I got a water problem, and we didn't take advantage of I know y'all won't hear me crying about water, but we've not taken advantage of the $9 million we have at this point. So I'm not sure what that lead to. We'll let $9 million just slide on.
Okay, Coach. We'll look into that as well. All right, I got a motion, substitute motion to refer this back to transportation. Got a second by Councilman Melanson.
You can bring it back to finance.
I'm sorry, bring it back to finance. Thank you for that correction. Is there any objection? Any further discussion? Substitute motion carries.
One thing I wanted to ask, if I may, do we need a time limit on this, or is this something that you're going to get on?
Good point.
Yeah, we'll get moving on this for the next Finance Committee meeting.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Very good. All right, moving on, item C, amendment to a cooperative endeavor agreement between Ascension Parish government and Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office to provide the parish with security and law enforcement services for publicly noticed meeting. Motion by Councilman Lambert, second by Councilman Malonson. Any discussion?
One discussion. Is there any way we can get this active pretty quick, or we got 2 weeks on this? When payment starts on this?
We need it for Wednesday.
Okay.
And I've already got contacted Lieutenant LaGrange that's in charge of this, and so we should be able to make it if we get the CEA. We can get it signed, get it approved tonight and get it signed.
Appreciate that.
Okay. Coach?
Looking at this and talking to Bill, the situation that he's talking about doing, my belief and my opinion on this, I think this is really overblown, that the situation, there was one incident that happened at the water company, and I really think that this is pretty much overblown, but again, we're gonna spend some more money on, it is not much, but again, I just think it's overblown. And it's a two-way street when you're talking about 1 day a week and having a deputy at the water company. When would that take place? I don't think the people of Donaldsonville, of the West Bank in itself, would appreciate that sort of gesture in saying that it's not safe to go into the water company with one incident. Now, we've had a number of incidents, then I can see it, but for us, with one incident, and I understand that we're gonna protect the customers and protect the workers that we have there. But I think this is going just a little bit extreme with having a deputy back at the water company.
Not gonna be every time. Councilman Ojo.
Mr. Dawson, congratulations on moving from political individual to bureaucrat. I'm sure you'll do an excellent job as a bureaucrat. I'm unaware of any incidents that have taken place at PUA or ACUD. Could you enlighten the council, as to what's going on and what is the real necessity of this? I'm hoping it's not just because these are people in Donaldsonville that we think we need to put armed guards out there. I'm hoping that there's justification behind it. So can you explain that to us?
So, Mr. Chairman, can I respond?
Sure, go ahead.
Councilman, we had an incident, it was 3 weeks ago, where a lady came in. So once a week, really, we do these cutoffs for people that haven't paid. And people come in, and obviously they're not happy when you cut their water off. So this particular incident about 3 weeks ago, a lady came in and tried to attack one of our tellers. Later during that night, she also went to one of the local elected officials' house and beat on the door at about 2 o'clock in the morning. So we're not saying that this is the same contract that you guys use to provide the deputy that's here tonight. So we're not saying that Dawsonville is any more dangerous than any other place, but it's a personnel safety issue, and our workers that are the tellers there are not comfortable at this point in time. I don't think it will be a permanent project, or it won't be a permanent presence of the sheriff deputy there, but at this point in time, I feel that it's necessary for the safety of the personnel that are in that office.
Well, I know that recently there have been a lot of issues with incorrect water bills, people getting shut off incorrectly, improperly. Do we know if this particular individual was justified in being upset? Was her water shut off improperly?
Well, justified I'm sure you don't mean that somebody's justified to attack somebody else.
I'm not saying anyone's justified in attacking anyone, but if she was frustrated or she was angered by the action.
We didn't find an issue with her bill.
Okay. Good deal. Thank you, sir.
Okay. already had a motion second, and it would pass, so we had just additional discussion. So, moving along, item 9, introduction of ordinances.
Did you ask for a vote on this?
Yeah, we had, I said, any objection? There was none.
Okay, I'm
This was
sorry.
the previous one that we had some discussion at. We haven't voted yet on this one, I don't think.
I thought we did. Okay, item C.
Did we vote on this one, Sam?
Yeah,
Bang the gavel.
okay. Any objection? Got one objection. Roll
Don't
call
need it.
vote, Madam Secretary. Everybody voted? You got 5 yeas and 4 nays. Motion carries. Moving on to item 9, introduction of ordinances. Remind gentlemen, lady, that we have just a motion to introduce on these items. A, introduction of ordinance, budget amendment number 1, approval to amend the 2022 budget.
Motion.
Motion to introduce by Councilman Lawler. Item B, introduction of ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances, Chapter 15, Article 1, Section 15.2, Park Rules and Regulations to adjust item F, lease pricing for recreational facilities. Motion by Councilman Lawler. I have a motion to introduce. Item 10, public hearings, ordinances. Reading of an ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium-intensive residential to mixed-use corridors, MU, zoning review IDPZ 2775.22, 1.34 acre lot off the Ruby Ori property from Michael Frasina, located on the south side of Seabrook Road, approximately 1,050 feet west of LA 73. Mr. Council, would you please read the ordinance?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Purpose, this ordinance amends the official zoning designation 1.34 acre lot of the Ruby Ori property per attached legal description from medium intensity RM to mixed use corridor MU. This rezone is identified as zoning review IDPZ 2775.22, whereas Ascension Parish is a local governmental subdivision as defined by Article 6, Section 44 of the Louisiana Constitution 1974, whereas the Parish of Ascension is the governing and responsible body over the zoning and regulations within this jurisdiction, and whereas Article 6 of the Home Rule Charter of Ascension Parish adopted May 4, 1993 identifies the process and manner in which to adopt ordinances regulating the lands of this parish, and whereas the official zoning map for Ascension Parish was last adopted on March 8, 2016, and whereas the Parish Council reserves the authority to make changes to the official zoning map by ordinance, and whereas this request has been processed in compliance with the procedure set forth, be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Governing Authority that the official zoning map of the Ascension Parish, Louisiana, is amended to reflect the property identified in Exhibit A as mixed-use corridor as official zoning designation, severability in the event that any portion of this ordinance is ever held invalid or unconstitutional for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction over it, such portion shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision and shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of the ordinance. Effective date, the ordinance shall be in full effect as permitted by law. Exhibits A, legal description, B, plat map, C, aerial zoning map. Adoption, this ordinance having been submitted to a vote, the vote thereon was as follows.
Motion to move on. Oh, excuse me, motion to open the public hearing.
Motion by Councilwoman Cazzo to open the public hearing, second by Councilman Melanson. Motion to close the public hearing by Councilman Robert. Second by Councilman Lawler.
Motion to move the ordinance.
Motion to move the ordinance by Councilwoman Cazzo, second by Councilman Melanson. Any objection? So ordered. Item 11. Thank you, gentlemen, lady. You are adjourned.
Thank you.